Oklahoma's 5th congressional district was supposed to be safe for Representative Stephanie Bice. After Kendra Horn proved the old district could elect a Democrat, Republican legislators redrew the map. Now Jenna Nelson's campaign has released a poll showing the race tied before voters hear about the candidates. That does not prove Nelson is ahead, but it does raise a serious question. Did they make the district safer than Bice's record made her? The first rule is credibility. The poll should not be described as Nelson simply leading by 4 points. The clean and accurate statement is this. A Nelson campaign poll found the race tied before voters heard about the candidates and showed Nelson ahead by 4 points afterward. That distinction matters. If we get that right, the rest of the argument gets harder to dismiss. The redistricting story is not guesswork. Inside Elections wrote that Oklahoma Republicans' primary goal was to shore up Stephanie Bice, and that under the new lines Donald Trump would have carried the district 58-39. Under the old lines, the presidential margin was much closer, 51-46. That is a huge political change. The poll still matters, but it should be handled carefully. It was released by the Nelson campaign. The public materials give the sample size, dates, and margin of error, but they do not identify the polling firm or explain the contact method. So the poll is useful evidence, not conclusive proof. That honest caveat actually makes the analysis stronger. The opening ballot is the number to watch. Nelson 39, Bice 39, undecided 18, other candidates 4. In a district deliberately redrawn to favor Republicans, an incumbent sitting at 39% in her opponent's own poll is the real story. It does not tell us who will win. It tells us the incumbent may have a record problem. After voters heard descriptions of both candidates, Nelson moved to 48 and Bice to 44. Again, this is not the same as an independent poll showing Nelson ahead today. But it does tell us that when voters are given information about the candidates, the race may move. For an incumbent in a supposedly safe seat, that should get attention. A fair analysis should not pretend Stephanie Bice has done nothing for the district. Her office points to funding for water systems, public safety, medical facilities, and other projects. Those are real parts of representation, but they are not the whole record. The larger votes on taxes, infrastructure, healthcare, spending, veterans, and the national debt are also part of the job. The veterans' vote is a good example of why careful wording matters. On H.R. 9237, Bice voted against the motion to recommit. That motion failed by 1 vote, 210-211. It was not a final passage vote. The accurate statement is that she voted against sending a disputed veterans package back for revision. Precision is not weakness. Precision makes the criticism land. Jenna Nelson is not starting from zero. She was a public school teacher, Oklahoma's 2020 Teacher of the Year, and the Democratic nominee for state superintendent against Ryan Walters in 2022. That gives her real name recognition and a public record. But she should not get a free pass. Her proposals on health care, Social Security, veterans, border security, and data centers need details and math, too. This race should not be reduced to party labels. It should be a test of records and plans. Bice should explain the results of the tax and spending law, her infrastructure votes, and the veterans procedure. Nelson should explain how she would pay for her proposals, what border legislation she supports, and how she would handle data centers. District 5 deserves a debate over records, not slogans. Gerrymandering can make a district safer, cannot make an incumbent unaccountable. District lines do not erase voting records. They do not lower household costs. They do not answer questions about health care, veterans, infrastructure, or the national debt. That is why even a safe district should still get a serious campaign. The closing question is simple. District 5 was redrawn to protect a politician. Has the politician's record protected District 5? One campaign poll does not decide the election, but it does suggest voters may be willing to examine the record. And in a democracy, even a safe district should have to answer to the people who live in it. Follow the money.